Something about the way they sized up this unfamiliar kitchen nevertheless conveyed gravitas. These were special ops, culinary mercenaries, poised for battle.
You said soaring castle?
Uh-huh.
I thought it was a French thing.
Well, maybe that'll just distinguish between Ted's approach and Matt's approach.
Since there was barely room enough for the 5 chefs, we spent the evening observing the plating up of the dishes from the kitchen doorway and ferrying deli containers of ice water into the inferno. Things started to really accelerate when it came time to fire the 3rd and 4th courses, 80 servings each of a sautéed quail and a braised oxtail crepinette, a crispy little puck, both of which needed to be burnished brown and cooked just right, not overdone, and in an instant. For the next half hour, the 3 caterers were everywhere at once, slammed as any restaurant line at 8:45 p.m., but entirely in control. Satterfield moved to the other side of the serving counter to expedite and apply finishing touches and to otherwise stay out of the way. Without a wasted gesture or motion, the catering chefs worked sheet pans in ovens and sauté pans on every burner, at times sheet pans on raging burners, a makeshift griddle, as gracefully and agilely as modern dancers. Their clipped dialogue was inscrutable to us, the vocabulary unfamiliar, issued at low volume amid the clatter. Hand, elbow, and head gestures were sufficient for most of what they needed to say to each other.
The dinner was a huge success, due in no small part to Patrick, Juan, and Jorge. And the food that evening was everything the restaurant chefs could have hoped for. Exquisitely delicious, perfectly executed, on a par with the food Miller Union serves every day back home in Atlanta. Satterfield has since won a James Beard Award. Afterward, we followed the Soaring Castle crew to a bar nearby. When we marveled at their virtuosity with an unfamiliar menu in suboptimal
That's a tough sentence. I know you can do it.
This book is filled with tough sentences. When we marveled at their virtuosity with an unfamiliar menu and suboptimal circumstances, both Sotos smiled and shrugged. De nada, Juan said, laughing. Jorge turned serious. You gotta understand, for us, this is fun. We did what, 80 covers tonight? Patrick added. These guys can do lamb chops for 1,400. I tell them I need 300 well done, 300 rare, 800 medium rare. I tell them what time till serve out, and I can walk away. It's not too hard, Juan said. You have to know the proofer. Patrick explained. The proofer is another word for the hotbox, an upright aluminum cabinet on wheels, lifeblood for caterers, that conveys the partially cooked food from the refrigerator at the caterer's prep kitchen to the site of the party. So those lamb chops for 1,400 would have been seared in advance at the caterer's prep kitchen, just enough to get a perfect coloring on the outside, but more or less raw inside. Then they slide on sheet pans into the proofer. The proofer rolls into a fridge to chill until it's time to move them onto the truck for the ride to the venue. Once on site, the hot boxes are emptied and transformed into working ovens, with each sheet pan of lamb placed over other sheet pans that hold only lit cans of sterno. Sterno, we protested. Isn't that for keeping chafing pans of rubber chicken warm on a hotel buffet? Not in catering at this level, he explained. All hot event food consumed in New York City gets heated and finished in this way. The side dishes for that lamb, the quinoa, roasted parsnips, whatever, even the bread and the plates, all of it comes out of a hot box. You have to watch, Juan added, pointing to his eye. Feel, he said, rubbing his thumb between his forefingers, and listen, he tugged an earlobe. And organize, always organize. But if you do, you can get it right.
We were certain we could not get it right. Neither of us has the sensory knowledge, the mettle, or the wits. But the more we listened to these catering pros, the more captivated we were by their strange world of food crafting in the field, unlike anything we'd ever seen go down in a home or restaurant. Patrick prodded Juan to tell us a horror story about the time a hot proofer got too close to a sprinkler head at the New York Public Library, and the plating line, food, chef, kitchen assistants got soaked in a rust-water rain and still managed to serve dinner to 300 people, oblivious to the back-of-the-house disaster. You had to be cool, calm, and especially resourceful